All right, so today, welcome everybody, but today I'm going to talk about a subject that I rarely talk about, and that is sports. And the reason I'm talking about this because there's a lot of people that seems to think that sports media and media in general has a double standard when covering some of the indiscretions of certain athletes as opposed to other athletes who commit the same or worse infractions. And what am I talking about? Josh Giddey. Now, Josh Giddey is a 21-year-old Australian-born Caucasian basketball player for the Oklahoma City Thunder. He's been in the league a few years, but recently, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, reports have surfaced that he is under investigation for allegedly having an inappropriate relationship or a sexual relationship with a girl who was only 15. Or if she's, now once again, Josh Giddey is 21 years old. And if she's not 15, she's definitely underage. Now, if anybody has been watching the NBA as of late, anytime that a player has been accused or alleged of something of this magnitude, this story is plastered and blasted on every sports talk show and sometimes on every main media outlet. However, many of you probably don't even know who Josh Giddey is or what he has been charged with. And why is that? Because the major media stations like Stephen A. Smith and, First Take, Undisputed, have not covered this incident. And even the NBA said that, they have not released a statement. The Oklahoma City Thunder have not released a statement. And Josh Giddey is currently still in the lineup and playing every night. Even he declined to comment on the charges. And so this is somewhat disturbing to a lot of people. And shout out to my cousin Yante Smith. He's the reason that I'm making this video. He said, cuz you got to make a video about this. You got to talk about this. And this is something that I have known and noticed for years. But I understand how society works and the propaganda machine that the media is. Now, Josh Giddey, no one has defamed him. No one has condemned him. No one said he needs to go to jail. He needs to be suspended. He needs to be anything for allegedly having an inappropriate sexual relationship with the underage minor, which is basically statutory R word. And YouTube, they banned you for saying the R word. So I'm just going to say the R word. But everybody knows what the R word is. Now, just a few months ago or last year, many people remember Ja Morant. Ja Morant is a star basketball player for the Memphis Grizzlies. And he was under fire. He was plastered on every sports show, on every news channel for weeks and weeks, months and months, and is still suspended to this day for simply flashing a gun on Instagram at a strip club. And also he was in a car with some other individuals where a gun once again was flashed. Now for this man, he didn't hurt nobody, he didn't shoot nobody, he didn't do anything. But for this man was suspended, made to apologize, go to counsel, and is still not playing in the league today. But the reason why is because they plastered that video all over social media, regular media. They constantly barraged you with the image of Ja Morant being this bad person because he flashed a gun on television. Now, there's a video of the 15-year-old girl saying, yeah, I had a relationship with Josh Giddey and I don't care who knows it. Ha! And there's pictures of him, with the young lady and they're throwing up signs and stuff. None of these things have been plastered over the media. And once again, we have to ask ourselves why. Why is this situation being kept mum but Ja Morant holding up a gun was the worst thing in the world. He needed to be suspended, so on and so forth. And we can compare it to another incident. Kyrie Irving last year. Everybody knows he treated the movie From Jews to Israelites or something like that, From Jews to Blacks. And once again, he was vilified. That was the main topic of every sports show for about a month or 2 months straight. He was suspended. He was made to apologize. He was made to take counseling simply for tweeting about a movie. But yet this man who's alleged is currently under investigation for rape, he has not been vilified. He has not been condemned. He has not been told that he shouldn't be playing. There are no feminist groups up in an uproar. There is no one saying anything about this. And it's baffling to me. It's definitely baffling to me. But once again, I've seen this happen over and over the years. There's an incident where I think his name is Harry Porter Jr. from the Houston Rockets. He was accused of beating up his girlfriend in a hotel. That story was plastered all over the media. He was suspended. Commentators were saying that he should go to jail. He should not. The Houston Rockets should fire. The NBA should suspend him. All of those things were relevant to these three players I've named, but none of these are relevant to the Josh Giddey situation. And there's only one common denominator that exudes the reason why, and that is, of course, the race. Josh Giddey is a Caucasian player, and all the other players that I mentioned that have been vilified all through the media for less disturbing incidents than this guy has been accused of. That is the only reason that they have, that I can see, that the double standard exists. Now let me take you back further. About 10 years ago, 2014, somewhere in there, 2015, there was a guy named Ray Rice who played for the Baltimore Ravens. And there's a video. You probably can look up the video. It was during the off season, I think. He and his wife were in an elevator at a casino. They got into it. She punched him. She kicked him. She spit on his face. And he hauled off and hit her. Boom. Knocked her out, right? And the video surfaced where he pulled her out of the elevator and tried to, bring her to. And I think, he finally got her to. Now, that video, once it was leaked, because the NFL already knew about the incident, they had already reprimanded him behind closed. But once that video got released, that video was posted all over not only the sports media, but the national media at large. Ray Rice became pretty much the poster child for domestic violence. That man has never played a down in the NFL since. He and the woman actually went on to get married, and she forgave him. However, the league, the NFL, the media pretty much made Ray Rice out to be this terrible individual. Now, once again, I don't condone, and he should have been, reprimanded for that. I'm not saying that he was right? But that video and Ray Rice was the subject for at least a year, right? Everybody knows Ray Rice, right? But let me ask a question. How many of you guys know Chad Wheeler? I give you a second. Chad Wheeler, right? And nobody has really ever heard of Chad Wheeler, and I didn't even know about the story until I saw it on a YouTube video 2 years ago. Because it was 2 years ago that Chad Wheeler, a Caucasian offensive lineman for the Seattle Seahawks, was accused of allegedly beating his African-American girlfriend almost to death after asking her to bow down to him and call him master. And when she refused, he went into a rage, kicking, beating, stomping her, and almost actually killing this young lady. Now, at the time, this is 2021, no one mentioned this story in the major media. If they did, it was only for a day or two. And just let me show you this image right here. That is Chad Wheeler. And that is the woman that he beat. That's her laying in the hospital. He beat to almost an inch of her life. This is 2 years ago. So ask yourself, why wasn't this incident? Why wasn't the picture of this lady plastered all over the news, all over the sports media, all over the feminist websites? This story got little to no coverage in the media. Little to no coverage. And even now, just a couple of weeks ago, they finally went to trial and Chad was found guilty of first-degree domestic assault and some other charges. And he has not been sentenced, but they said the sentence may incur up to a 5-year penalty. But once again, this situation was literally swept under the rug. They said he beat this woman with force by means or impossible by means to cause death. And you know what they attributed to in the article in the courts? Oh, well, he was just having a mental health episode. There was no vilification. There was no, this is an animal. This is a horrific what he's done to this young lady. He was having a mental health episode. He was off his meds. But that is once again an example of the double standard of media coverage when it comes to certain players or certain denominations or groups of players. Once again, no one has heard of this Chad Wheeler, and no one has heard of the victim, Aaliyah Taylor. No relation, I may add, but this is a story that should have been all on Good Morning America, like Ray Rice. It should have been all on USA Today covers, just like Ja Morant. This should have been all on these websites and these TV shows, just like Kyrie Irving, but they wasn't, because many people feel that the media today has a agenda or propensity to vilify the actions of black players over those of other races. Now, I can go deeper. You want to go deeper? We can go deeper. In 2008, the famed Big Ben Roethlisberger, and this is the article as well that I'm taking some information. It says, whatever happened to the sexual allegations against Ben Roethlisberger? What sexual allegations, might you ask? Of course you have to ask, because they were not plastered over the media and over the social networks and over the sports talk shows, just like other assaults. But yeah, in 2008, Ben Roethlisberger was accused of snatching Andrea McNulty, a member of the staff at Lake Tahoe Hotel and Casino, snatching her into his room, claiming that he had a broken television, and then trying to kiss her, groping her and everything. Roethlisberger refuted the charges and reached an out-of-court agreement in 2011. Now, once again, no one in 2008. I remember going to a game in 2008 with Roethlisberger. So he wasn't suspended. The story received minimal, if any, coverage. Which, if this would have been Ray Rice or this would have been Kyrie, this story would have been plastered all over the news media. However, even before he settled that case, in 2010, a Georgia college student, 20 years old, said that Ben Roethlisberger assaulted her in the bathroom stall of a nightclub. Uh, Roethlisberger's bodyguard seized her and got into a hallway where the quarterback was allegedly waiting with his sexual member out. Then he proceeded to R-word this woman. So now, this is 2010, and here's another allegation against Ben Roethlisberger that received little to no or minimal coverage. And actually, they said, this article said he was only interrogated by just one police officer who pretty much asked the Pro Bowler to, hey, take a selfie with me. And that was it. Nothing ever came of the allegations. The NFL did suspend him at the start of the 2010 season for violating the league conduct policy for 6 games. But then they reduced it to 2 because of good behavior. Now, 4-game suspension is what Tom Brady got. Well, over 6-game suspension is what Tom Brady got for Deflategate. So once again, this is a major story that probably nobody has ever heard of. You want to go further? Kristaps Porzingis, a then Knicks basketball player, was accused a few years back, I think it was in 2019, of R-wording another woman or a woman at a hotel or at his home in residence and refusing to leave. Once again, have you ever heard of this story? No. Why? I'm sure you've heard of Greg Hardy's from the Dallas Cowboys domestic abuse, or you've heard of Josh. What was the guy from the Browns? Joshua, that had all the alcohol problems. But what I'm saying, like, you hear about all these other instances relentlessly, viciously, onslaughtingly. That's not even a word, but you know what I'm saying. You hear about all these other allegations, but you don't hear about Kristaps Porzingis' R-word charge in which he settled out of court for $1 million. No media coverage whatsoever. And so a lot of people feel that the mainstream media, as well as the sports media, are somewhat biased in their choosing to cover certain incidents. Even once again, the Colts owner, Jim Irsay, was recently stopped and no charge with a DWI. Once again, swept on the rug. Also, let's not forget about Brett Favre. Brett Favre stole $5 million from a welfare fund in Mississippi from poor people. He also, did some other fraud with universities called, overcharging for speaking fees. They talked about that story for 2 days maximum. And actually, Brett Favre is suing Shannon Sharpe for talking about it on television. Help me understand. Does anybody not see what's going on over here? This should be, once again, plastered all over the news channels like Kyrie, like Ja Morant, like Harry Porter Jr., like Ray Rice. All of these things should receive as much vilification type coverage as those other athletes. But why don't they? You have to ask yourself why. I'm pretty sure you probably haven't heard of Kristaps Porzingis' case. Pretty sure you haven't heard of Chad Willer's case. I didn't even hear of Josh Giddey's case till I saw a YouTube video. But anytime a black player so much as crosses the street sideways, It's plastered on every news show. We got to talk about it. This is despicable in my Stephen A. voice. He is one of the main conduits. And once again, people talk about even Malika Andrews, how she has not covered this, but she always stands up for women. Where are all the feminist groups in these instances that are shared, where many times women have been assaulted? In the case of Chase Wheeler, in the case of Josh Giddey, in the case of Ben Roethlisberger, there are so many. What about the guy Dana White, who slapped his wife on video? That video has not been played since. But let that have been, Bill, I won't say Bill Cosby, but let that have been, Tony Dungy. That would have been plastered all over the news. And you can say I'm reaching, but I'm pretty sure I've given you enough cases for you to see the discrepancy in the amount of coverage for events that are worse or of the same nature committed by one group, and the coverage in relation to those events of lesser nature or the same nature committed by one group. And why do they not receive the same coverage? You tell me. Or am I retarded? You know what I'm saying? My number is 919-587-7782. I usually don't even commentate on sports because I feel like we as Americans, and especially us as African Americans, we spend way too much time talking about sports. As the Italian statesman once said, give them bread and circuses and they'll never revolt. What that means is feed them and entertain them, and you don't have to worry about them. And I think we spend a lot of time on this sports thing. If we spend as much time on schools or on finances as we do as calculating Kevin Durant and LeBron James's usage rate, every night, or arguing about how good a quarterback Dak is, and what is his QBR rating over the last 7.2 games, we'll be in a much, much, much better state. Nevertheless, I had to do it for my cousin Yante, because he wanted me to cover this. And actually, I do want to point out that, because I do point out things that are, inequitable. And I think the coverage of these matters are inequitable, and also the punishment of these matters. This guy is still being allowed to play while being investigated for an alleged R-word case. Now, you remember Zeke Elliott was alleged to have done something with the girl, and he was suspended immediately. And that came out to be true, but they suspended him even before the allegations were proven. You can say NFL is tougher than the NBA, whatever, because we've seen the NBA act with reckless abandon when dealing with allegations of players. Like, once again, the Ja Morant, he held up a gun on Instagram. But look up that Instagram video of that young girl talking about, I was with Josh Giddey and I don't care who knows it. Look up the Chad Wheeler case. Look up the Ben Roethlisberger allegations. Look up the Kristaps Porzingis allegations. Look up the Dana White allegations. Look up the Brett Favre allegations. And ask yourself, considering the magnitude of their actions, why are not they being covered in the same veracity as the other cases? I'm out. Richard Taylor, 919-587-7782. This is Taylor House Publishing. Subscribe, like the video, share, all that, whatever you want to do. Peace and blessings.